I'm investigative reporter Evan Watson. Let's get to it.
Evan.
Thank you, David. Brown's family members say the 20-second clip starts with deputies firing shots at Andrew Brown. This independent autopsy report says Brown was shot 5 times. After watching 6 body camera videos, Andrew Brown's sons say there's no way the shooting of their father was justified.
Evan, the body camera video.
That means District Attorney Andrew Womble could decide whether to file any criminal charges before the public sees any video of Andrew Brown's death. Police departments receive thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of calls each year. Those calls are tracked by topic, anything from a noise complaint to a car accident to an armed robbery. So if 100 yards of crime scene tape represent 100% of calls, what portion of that relates to violent crime, like assault, rape, or shots fired? In Hampton Roads, just 3 yards, 3% of the calls for service, 3% of an officer's current responsibilities.
Evan Watson spoke with a Virginia congresswoman who says she had to evacuate because of that threat. He joins us now live from RNC headquarters.
Yeah, the FBI and Capitol Police disabled those bombs before they went off, but Representative Luria was just a half block up the street evacuating. She says she was disheartened by the violent threat, but not surprised. Back outside, the officers realized what was happening. Chesapeake police officers covered up the camera, and the hackers started talking to them about the hoax.
And what is it that you need from us?
Oh, nothing. We were just around. After this, we'll log out. Tell him to change his Yahoo password, his Ring password, and stop using the passwords for the same.
The problem? It's still not implemented 2 weeks after that act passed. Senator Warner tells me the Department of Labor is to blame for delaying needed unemployment benefits. Many Virginians who filed through that program now have the option to submit weekly claims for benefits that would provide retroactive pay. Self-employed workers and independent contractors through the PUA application may have more money coming their way. And then this weekend, they get a message about an agency mistake. VEC paid up to $1,200 too early before it was supposed to. This delay means some workers could go more than 3 months without a job and without unemployment assistance.
It's almost unpreventable.
The Virginia Department of Health reports 98 out of a total of 176 outbreaks have started in long-term care facilities, with more than 1,000 cases and 80 deaths. Virginia Department of Health data shows that many nursing homes had problems controlling infections before this pandemic arrived. State inspectors cited 35% of Virginia nursing homes with infection control violations in 2019.
I'm angry because I don't feel she had to die.
The march ended here purposefully at the Confederate Monument in downtown Norfolk. The Confederate Monument in Old Town is blocked off right now, still covered in graffiti. Virginia Beach Police redirected the march from Atlantic Avenue to the boardwalk. It's a memorial for victims during the day, but at night it's become the site of clashes between police and demonstrators. There's no way to determine if that varies by location or by race. These protesters want to change that. This was the start of what Chief Cervera calls a long gun battle. Outside, more officers arrived to help. Over the next 20 minutes, one officer was shot and wounded. The gunman went into an office and shot through the door and the wall. This rally broke Virginia coronavirus restrictions with well over 250 people in attendance. Elections Commissioner Chris Piper tells me that absentee ballots are being processed later, that currently what we're seeing in results right now are today's in-person voting. For most localities, absentee and early voting numbers have yet to be posted. But Hampton Roads schools are using the EPA's actionable level of 15 parts per billion as a maximum acceptable level. Most pipes are built with some amount of lead, so a small amount can seep into water over time. But our 13 News Now investigation found some school drinking water sources showed lead levels in the hundreds, even thousands of parts per billion, shattering EPA recommendations. After reviewing the most recent water quality tests at 7 Hampton Roads school districts, 263 water sources at 83 schools failed lead level testing. And most divisions haven't even tested all of their schools. Where you can and can't go after tonight. Starting off with what's closed for the next month. Theaters, museums, and concert venues are all shut down. All the gyms are closed too, so work out outside or at home. A concern for many of you, barbershops and beauty salons are ordered to close. Governor Northam says they won't comply with 6-foot social distancing rules. It also makes the disease harder to track, especially because testing is still limited throughout the United States. And transmission is compounded. It's not just that 2 people infect 4 people, who infect 6 people, who infect 8. The transmission doubles with each step. Some inmates who have tested positive for coronavirus inside Virginia jails are now back in the community. Opioid addiction.
The last couple of years, I think it's just become so bad.
She is a longtime customer at Denby Pharmacy, a local shop that filled more potent opioid prescriptions than any other drugstore in Newport News between 2006 and 2012. Specifically, the number of oxycodone prescriptions sent to Denby Pharmacy doubled in those 6 years.
We have teachers that are not fully licensed in positions that used to have teachers that would be fully licensed.
Among schools where at least 70% of the students are considered economically disadvantaged by VDOE, about 2.6% of teachers are out of field. Some schools report numbers as high as 8, 11, or 13%.
And so that's a reality that Virginia has to address.
Across the state, history SOL scores dropped 6% over the last 3 years, the biggest drop-off in any testing subject. In Hampton Roads, scores in all 7 cities fell each year over that same time frame. Passing rates in Newport News and Norfolk dropped into the 60s.
No surprise, is it, guys? Welcome back to the ocean front, where it's almost like a small acupuncture treatment with the sand biting in the face.
At Bluestone Avenue, just south of ODU, and this is the wall that was blown out by the wind, fallen onto the sidewalk and the street below with exposed brick down there.
And speaking of down the boardwalk, if you look this way, this is my homemade visibility index. It's about 2.5 hotels.
You think you'd remember winning the lottery 5 times.
I mean, if I could play lottery and them kind of numbers, I think I'd be rich and I'd have never quit.
And Martha Burney doesn't forget much. She keeps detailed notes. She checks her bank statements. So she noticed when her Social Security checks started to shrink. The IRS told her why. She didn't pay taxes on her lottery winnings in 2014. Except there's a problem. Burney says she's never won or even played the lottery.
Never bought a lottery ticket. I said, how did my name get on lottery checks?
But there they are, 5 checks, made out to Martha for more than $13,000.
And I looked at them, I turned them over, I said, this is not my signature.
The signatures vary wildly, some cursive, some stick letters. One doesn't even have a name, it just says for deposit only. But then Burney saw one signature on the first check that looked familiar, and she remembered. About 5 years ago, she worked at a gas station, and her boss asked her to cash a lottery check for him.
Can you do me a favor? And I said, sure. He said, can you take this around to the lottery board and cash it? I never thought anything else about it.
Feeling uneasy now, Burney called Virginia lottery investigators. They confirmed that Burney never deposited lottery winnings into her bank account. And then they brought in her former boss, Jaresh Patel, for an interview. According to the lottery investigation report, Patel admitted to signing the checks in Burney's name, depositing thousands into an operation account for his convenience store. But when investigators turned to the proof, winning claim forms, they came up empty.
Records about you don't last forever. They don't live forever in a box somewhere.
The documents were gone, disposed of. John Haggerty, a Virginia Lottery spokesman, confirmed that by Virginia law, claim forms are normally saved for about 2 years. It had been 5 years since the forms were signed.
Records are kept for a certain amount of time, and then if there's no red flag, they are routinely disposed of. And that's what happened here. The lottery did what it was supposed to do.
So Martha Burney turned to Hampton Police.
I just feel that something should be done to somebody who did this.
But the deleted evidence stopped the detectives too.
The matter cannot go forward in the state of Virginia or city of Hampton because the records for Virginia Lottery are destroyed. Proving this matter beyond a reasonable doubt would be extremely difficult.
Out of options, Burney got some good news. The IRS verified her claim of identity theft, refunding her almost $2,000 that was withheld from her Social Security checks. But she's still frustrated. Patel told investigators he forged her name, but Hampton police detectives said nothing could be done.
It could make you sometimes want to pull your hair out. Can also make you want to cry. I can tell you that.
And how did this happen? Lottery workers have a strict list of requirements for winning checks.
The ID, Social Security number, the signatures all match. Then a check is signed and issued to that person whose name is on the claim form. It's critical. It's critical to the lottery's integrity.
Plus, how did someone submit winning tickets that frequently? They won $2,500 and then $5,000 on back-to-back days in May 2014. Or later, $2,700 twice in one November week. Haggerty says investigations are not often stopped by a lack of lottery records.
I've been here for 18 years, and I've never seen that being an issue before.
Jaresh Patel declined to talk to 13 News Now about this case, but Bernie still wants accountability.
I look back and say, how could all this have really happened?
In Hampton, Evan Watson reporting for 13 News Now. It could have a red ring, a blue ring, a yellow ring, a silver ring, or caution tape, but it all means the same thing. These fire hydrants are out of service.
What are you going to do? We have a problem here.
I walk by for years and see the out of service sign, and you know, it's not a soda machine.
In March, a fire destroyed much of this Port Norfolk home. The nearest fire hydrant was out of service.
Had that fire hydrant been working, the house there would not have burned as long as it did.
Portsmouth Fire Chief James Hoffler told us the day of the fire that a broken hydrant can affect what firefighters are able to do.
It makes a difference anytime that you have any type of delay from the norm.
We're all family.
Tina Marie Shannon lives a few houses down from the burnt home and right across from the hydrant that was out of service. It's working now, but she says it was only fixed after the fire and media attention.
About 3 years.
3 years?
Uh-huh. Really?
To fix the fire hydrant across her house?
Yes. Yeah.
And even with that hydrant working, the very next hydrant down her street is out of service. Water spilling out into the grass and the street. Shannon worries for her neighbors.
All of these houses are at risk of burning to the ground.
Talking to neighbors, we decided to investigate just how many fire hydrants are out of service in Hampton Roads. Our 13 News Now investigation found all fire hydrants in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, and Newport News are working. One hydrant is out of service in Hampton and 2 more in Norfolk. All 3 hit by cars. Suffolk says 7 hydrants aren't working. But the city of Portsmouth reports 25 inactive fire hydrants across the city. Portsmouth responded to our multiple interview requests with a statement saying Public Utilities promptly responds to simple repairs like nozzle or drainage issues. But if the repair is more significant, Public Utilities issues a bid for the work under the city's capital improvement program. The city did not say how long these types of repairs typically take. Neighbors like Doris Cross say the hydrant across from her home hasn't worked for years. And at her age, she says she doesn't know if she could escape a house fire.
These things belong to the city, right? The city should take care of its own.
Fire trucks do carry a significant amount of water. Portsmouth Fire says its engines carry about 750 gallons each. And fire hoses are about 1,000 feet long to allow firefighters to reach multiple hydrants if one is out of service. But the responsibility to fix the broken hydrants falls to Portsmouth Public Utilities and the city's budget.
I would hope that my city leaders would consider properly working fire hydrants to be a priority.
And I feel like that fire hydrant is on the top of the list.
This silver hydrant right here, it's back online. Across the street from Doris Cross and her home of 30 years.
I'm the mother of 10, grandmother of 17, great-grandmother of 26. Oh, I was saying if we have a family reunion, I don't know where we're going to have it unless we rent the scope.
The hydrant used to look like these, featuring an out-of-service ring. Some nights, Cross would think about it.
But when I would turn on the TV and I would see this fire, this place and that fire, of course, that was the first thing that came in my mind. What if?
Earlier this year, Portsmouth reported 25 out-of-service fire hydrants, double the amount of broken hydrants in the other Hampton Roads cities combined. That number is now nearly cut in half at 13. A few weeks ago, city crews installed a new hydrant by Doris's house.
Praise the Lord, prayers were answered. I think your investigation and the newscast that came on the TV, I think it opened some people's eyes.
And while talking to Doris, the biggest coincidence.
Try not to worry about anything, not right now. Fire engine there.
Sirens on, a fire truck drove by the front porch into another spot in Cross's neighborhood. She says there's still work to do. 13 broken hydrants would still be the largest amount in Hampton Roads. But now she says she feels grateful for herself and her neighbors. The Virginia Arts Festival is currently sponsoring an exhibit that was ordered to be shut down by a Los Angeles County court in 2018. Documents show the Virginia Arts Festival was informed about the judgment before they started running the exhibit, but they went ahead with it anyway. Martin Bialis wanted to bring Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel frescoes to the world. He licensed high-resolution images of the paintings with permission from the Vatican, but he had no idea it would lead to this.
These are stolen goods, not only physically, but also intellectually.
In 2015, he premiered Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, the exhibition in Montreal. After it finished, Bialis' lawsuit says 2 employees stole the art and concept and moved it to Germany.
You know, if you steal something, especially from a venue, there are cameras.
Security photos showing his former staff taking the prints, frames, and software, according to Bialis. The contract attached to the lawsuit shows it all belonged to Bialis' company. In 2018, a Los Angeles County court ordered the former employees to pay a $2.5 million judgment, saying they must return all equipment and images, and that they're prohibited from promoting images and exhibits on the Sistine Chapel.
And it just can't be that people just take goods and run off just because it's an international venture. Go nuts on it. You just can't allow that.
The exhibition and lawsuit were tied up in international court until now. The former employees, a new company, Exhibition for You, an agent, and the Virginia Arts Festival agreed to bring the smaller, modified Michelangelo exhibit to Norfolk.
Let me tell you, I was just stunned.
Bialis sent a letter to the Virginia Arts Festival, warning them about the judgment, lawsuit, and theft of the Michelangelo exhibit.
The last thing I wanted is anybody in Virginia or in Norfolk get hurt because they didn't know this story.
He says the Virginia Arts Festival did not respond, but they forwarded the letter to the defendant's legal team. The Virginia Arts Festival declined to comment multiple times and did not answer why it decided to proceed with the Michelangelo A Different View exhibit after Bialis contacted them.
I'm sorry that they got involved. You know, I tried to alert them early enough.
Now, the Arts Festival and MacArthur Center are named defendants in a lawsuit seeking an injunction and damages. The defense has requested to move the lawsuit from Norfolk Circuit Court to federal court. A defense attorney for Exhibition for You declined to comment. The Michelangelo A Different View exhibit is on display in Norfolk through Sunday. Bialis says the defendants voluntarily agreed to hold the exhibit in Norfolk through September 12th to make time for the injunction. Norfolk, of all places, the new center for a lawsuit over the photo displays of some of the most famous paintings in the world.
For me, to spend all this money on litigation, economically, it's crazy. But you have to, because you cannot allow people to just steal your IP. It's not the way this business works.
Evan Watson, reporting for 13 News Now. Patricia Yan had an aching feeling in her gut. She called King's Grant House, an assisted living facility in Virginia Beach, to check on her mom, Mary Bunce Howard Hakey.
I was told that she appeared to be weak and that the day before they had to go in and assist her off the toilet. That's not my mom.
Yan sent her mother to the emergency room at Centera Virginia Beach General Hospital. She knew there had been positive coronavirus cases in her mom's facility. Mary Hakey tested positive for COVID-19. Her granddaughter Lauren is a nurse in the unit where Hakey received care. Lauren was the only family member able to visit her grandma in person one last time. Hakey died days later.
I feel guilty because I couldn't be the one holding her hand and telling her that she was loved. And I will always live with that.
Yan says she discovered her mom's condition started deteriorating at the nursing home 5 days before she called to check on her and send her to the hospital. In the King's Grant coronavirus outbreak, 26 people tested positive and 6 residents, including Hakey, died.
I'm angry because I don't feel she had to die. Why didn't they get her to the hospital much quicker? She might still be alive.
Josh Allen, a clinical consultant to Commonwealth Senior Living King's Grant House, says if staff members see any signs that a resident requires medical attention, they immediately contact a physician or 911.
Any of those changes that would tell us that this person's condition is deteriorating, then we're going to seek that medical attention immediately.
But since Hakey's passing, her daughter's grief has changed.
So I've gone from being angry and wanting to lash out to what can we do to help them? These facilities need education, they need help, they need additional staff members.
Yan is also a nurse. She received a heartbreaking voicemail from the director of nursing at King's Grant after her mother passed away.
And how much she was going to be missed. And that they were so sorry that she was gone.
Hakey was a devout Catholic with a love for others. Yan says she saw beauty in everything as a birdwatcher and gardener, and that she believed in true equality for all.
She was remarkable. I've never met anybody like her.
Her story, A story of families separated by the virus, of loved ones lost, and of the very real, persistent threat of the coronavirus.
These things, they work. Just wear a mask, because we're going to be in this for the long haul. It's not over, and in some states, it's just beginning.
Evan Watson, reporting for 13 News Now.